So before I ask any like specific questions about how you sort of found it, I just want to ask for any general feedback you want to give, like how you found the movie, how you found the trailer and stuff like that.
Exactly. I thought it was more of a movie than a
Yeah.
trailer. Like, so it looked like an opening sequence to a movie, and I felt like we should have added that, because the trailer usually like clips from each bit of the movie.
Yeah, it's like
beginning,
rapid cuts. Yeah.
But it just felt like it was just the beginning.
Yeah, because obviously for our AS we did like basically a film opening, right? I think we carried some of that along with us and like that experience into making the trailer, which perhaps wasn't the best idea, but I wanted to sort of bring some sense of like narrative to the trailer, because with regular like trailers, it's not really narrative as much as it's just like the best bits from the movie compiled to like sort of gain interest and widen the audience as much as possible before the movie releases. With this, we were going more sort of experimental and seeing if we can find like I don't want to say niche, but a really sort of specific audience that would sort of enjoy what we're trying to do. But yeah, no, I totally agree that it did come off sort of more movie-like than it did trailer-like. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
How long is it?
It's 2 minutes and 25 seconds long, so it's sort of standard trailer. Because you have like teaser trailers which are only like a few seconds long, and that's like when the movie's been like initially announced. And it's like a few seconds just showing like what like the possibilities of what the movie brings. And then you have the actual trailers which vary very much in length.
Could you make two then? Could you make another one that was like a minute long?
Like a teaser trailer. Yeah, so we had two versions, and one was slightly longer, but that was because it was like our rough cut and it wasn't edited down fully. This is sort of edited down where we had to cut a lot of shots because they were perhaps like a bit too long. So like some of the walking scenes, they dragged on quite a bit, and that was in our rough cut. This was cut them out essentially to sort of create a nice flow.
So who felt it was too long?
No,
Show of hands.
No, it felt even like I didn't feel like it was 2 minutes.
I think it might have been impacted, but
it wasn't too long. It was like too much focus on broadcast rather than on the action.
right, yeah.
But there should be a voiceover and like some dialogue in the scene. Otherwise, it's just like a silent
Yeah, and
film.
I was
Yeah.
missing some words. Like,
Yeah, jump scares.
And I feel like the editing,
Right.
like usually happens.
Oh yeah.
the editing was quite repetitive because you kept doing that whole little
Yeah,
thing
so,
like, all throughout.
So with the idea of the whole glitching was we were trying to present the idea that perhaps the villain has something to do with technology, and the way he sort of hunts his victims is through technology. And with obviously social media being a growing industry and it's like getting larger every day, we wanted to incorporate that. If we were to make an actual film, that would be like a centerpiece. We wanted to really drive that forward in the trailer. So perhaps we went a bit too overboard with that, and I understand why you would say that, you know, it was perhaps a bit too much overused. So taking that forward, I'd say that perhaps in the future, if we do make like another trailer for it, then perhaps space them out a bit more, so that it doesn't seem as repetitive. But yeah, it was just sort of a stylistic technique to try and drive the overarching story of the film forward.
And also it was kind of too bright for a horror film.
Yeah.
I didn't really get this contrast of like dark blue and then blue or something like that.
Yeah. So, it's more in our poster that we focus on color theory, not within our products. But I understand what you mean with like horror movies typically have the color contrast of like the red against like the black, and evoking that sort of dark and gritty feeling of like horror movies that we didn't really touch on in our product. But when you see our poster, you'll see that we have actually thought about color theory and what colors like elicit responses from like our audiences, and like what we wanted to achieve, what responses we wanted from our audience. But yeah, we didn't really explore color theory in our trailer. Perhaps that was an error, but yeah.
I thought there were some great shots.
Yeah,
Um,
she was good.
There were some really nice shots, but I just think that shots were held too long.
Yeah.
And I still think you could bring it down even
Refine
to a
it.
minute,
Yeah.
because I think I like the tension and the atmosphere, and it was kind of spooky, and it didn't bother me so much that it was bright. I thought that was kind of like, it was almost like it was a bit bright, like over bright,
Yeah.
overexposed in areas, and I quite liked that about it. You know, there's a bit in oh God, Blood Simple, where you know they use the daylight, and the horror is still happening in daylight, and there's something quite sinister about that.
Yeah.
So if you were thinking about like giving it a voiceover, maybe you could add that. You
Yeah.
know, like even in daylight, these things happen. You know, murders can happen.
Yeah.
You know, so you're playing around then with the genre and the context
Yeah.
of all of those. You know, ideas of what our preconceived ideas of what a horror film should look like.
Yeah.
You know.
I actually like the way you use like an everyday format. So the way you went home, but it was a bit weird when you just like, do you actually sit down in the park and wait home?
So, no. So we wanted to make it seem like this could happen to like anyone.
Yeah.
So we wanted to basically create the most like boring person, right? The most average person you can find, who just like looks completely plain. You could be like
Wow.
anyone you'd see on the street, right? Because like usually in horror films you have like certain looks, right, that define both the antagonist and the protagonist, like the main character and the villain. You have those specific looks. But we wanted to portray the fact that this happens to like anyone. And we didn't want to be like, okay, it's this specific person it's happening to because so and so. We wanted it to just be like him. He's the next murder victim,
But
right?
he looks scared quite a lot. He looks like somebody's
Yeah.
after him.
Yeah.
He looks like he knows
Yeah.
somebody's after him. And when he's on his phone, it's like somebody's you know,
Well, I mean, if
is he
you
being
randomly
stalked by
get a
somebody? That's what I felt like he was.
Yeah.
That he was being stalked by somebody. He was being surveyed by.
yeah
And even like the glitching, like the surveillance camera
Yeah.
glitching, it's like somebody is watching him
yeah
all the time. So that person.
yeah
And Rock is like when he's shaking and his hands are shaking. You feel that character
yeah
knows that. I don't know. Is that just me?
Yeah,
Is that-
Yeah, one thing about the text messages though,
Mm.
the first one was really unclear, like I couldn't see what it
Yeah.
said at all.
it's
So I was a
yeah.
bit confused when someone was like something uncomfortable on
No, yeah.
in the tunnel.
Yeah.
Should have put like something like an actual screen to like room.
Yeah, like screen
Yeah,
recorded
because
it.
it was well, the issue with screen recording is you don't get like the surroundings and stuff, and most films do just insert shots where you see what they're doing,
Yeah.
and like for example, the text will appear in sort of like a different area, but like it's an extension of the screen, if you get what I'm saying.
But you could have it as a layer. You could use
Yeah,
it as
that's
a
yeah,
layer
that's what I'm
over
talking.
it.
Yeah, so like most films have like a different layer where the texts are basically read out and like and you can actually read it and comprehend it. Yeah, I guess that's a mistake we made. I didn't realize that it wouldn't be clear, but I guess amongst all the glitching, you'd only have like a few seconds to read it. Perhaps we shorten the glitching down.
The props were really good though, like the police tape and
Yeah.
the blood and the mask.
Yeah, I think that was used really nicely. That blurring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shot there.
Was there like a dead pigeon in there?
Oh no! So that was, you see the foot tunnel in Woolwich.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the bottom step
Oh.
underneath the railing.
Oh.
There were just feathers and stuff.
Oh. I thought it was a dead pigeon.
No.
Hey, does anyone want to say anything?
It was good.
Okay, thank you.
I actually liked the big. It was better than
Beginning
what I
was really
expected. Like the beginning,
Yeah.
the end, but the
I mean,
beginning
was it
oh,
funny?
like when
It
you
sounds
started
like
moving
it
to
was
the park,
scary,
from
like-
there up,
Yeah.
I thought was really good.
Okay.
I liked it.
Maybe a change in the music at the end
Yeah.
would make
Yeah,
that
the end it
kind
was.
of like
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
Like a scary like jump scares.
Yeah.
Or
It's just
like that boom music
Yeah.
that will make you jump.
Yeah.
do we have to do it? Oh, sorry.
Anything else? Or?
I like the blood, but I felt like the mask was very
I feel like you could have gotten a bigger part of the
Yeah,
mask.
you should have like you go like all black out, like unknown.
Mm.
Doesn't necessarily have to be a mask, because the mask made it look very fake.
Yeah, so our intention with the mask is because with so like 80s slasher films, right? You've got like Friday the 13th, and you have like a hockey mask with like Jason, and you've got like you just have like these iconic sort of characters who are defined by like what they wear. So we wanted to create the idea of like an iconic villain through our mask, much like Friday the 13th, because for me, like my favorite horror franchise is Friday the 13th, and I like enjoy watching them because Jason is such an iconic character with his mask, and his mask always plays a big role in like hiding the identity. So we wanted to really sort of draw that in and make that present, especially with the mask actually being a feminine mask. I think adds to that layer of what we were intending to do, of like adding a level of sort of anticipation, tenseness, and like a level of creepiness as well. But yeah, perhaps we could have done more with like lighting to make it more sort of impactful.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, thank you. Do you want to ask any specific questions?
No, I think we just covered it all.
How about first then? I want to see that.
You want to see the book? Okay.
Yeah.
That's F1. I'm just gonna open it one
Let's
by
see.
one.
That's good.
Go on.
Let me see.
Who's Jamie Long?
That's the villain. Jamie.
I thought it was
I hate those
To the house,
like
Jamie.
Is that like some
text at the bottom. I can't read anything.
But why is it happening?
Never, they like that.
Because I didn't act.
What is that?
Oh,
Now, what does it even say?
Like, where we're
I
going to
don't know.
Ooh. I'm going to keep running straight.
I prefer it.
So
I
we
like
made
this
two versions of our poster. One was landscape, one was portrait.
I like portrait.
yeah, portrait.
I can see more of what.
That's
That's
the
because you're
landscape.
further away.
I assume we can still film.
But yeah, so these were the two posters we did, because with advertising you obviously get landscape and portrait ones, right? Portraits for like bus stops and like you have it going up and down and stuff, and then landscape is like for like billboards and stuff like that. So we wanted to make both so we could maximize like our target audience. But yeah, so this is those two. He did it. I just took the photos.
Job well done.
Yeah, good.
It has these conventions. I'm gonna. Oh, okay. No, 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 no.
Oh, God.
Just, and it makes sense.